What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we're going to talk about the XRP price chart because yesterday, some news dropped and then the price proceeded to rise by about 17% over the course of the next 2 hours, printing back to back green 15-minute candles in there on the XRP price chart. As many may be aware, and probably are aware by now at least, that Judge Torres overrules the SEC's objections and orders the SEC to turn over the Hinman documents. In conclusion, for the foregoing reasons, the court overrules the SEC's objections and directs the SEC to comply with the orders. So ordered, Judge Torres. As Jeremy Hogan wrote here, Judge Torres agreed with Judge Netburn on every single issue related to the Hinman emails. Relevance, check. Attorney-client privilege, check. DPP, check. So in a 30-second summary of what's going on here, there's obviously been a big battle back and forth with the SEC and Ripple in the courts for the SEC to turn over the Hinman documents and emails pertaining to whether or not XRP was ever brought up in any of these emails. Obviously, it's about the draft of the speech for him to clear Ethereum and give Ethereum a free pass, but they've done everything in their power to try to hold these things back. Everybody got very excited to see this because it's one step closer to the SEC being backed into a corner and hopefully for this thing to come to a settlement or a conclusion so XRP can return to being back on exchanges and used in the United States again is what the hope everybody has. Now, of course, we all get real excited about that. We think, hey, there's one step closer to conclusion, one step closer to settlement or the ending of this case. James K. Feinland over here on Twitter had posted some thoughts on the next steps in the quest for the Hinman documents. The SEC has a number of procedural cards they can play to try to further delay complying with the order to produce the Hinman documents. First, they can ask Judge Torres to reconsider her order overruling the SEC objection. Second, they could skip the motion for reconsideration and just ask her to certify an appeal of the decision she issued today. Third, they could go to the Court of Appeals directly on a petition for writ of mandamus. As I've mentioned before, these are all low probability of success maneuvers. But if the SEC wants to delay producing the documents, they may try any or even all of these maneuvers, and that could take an additional 2 to 3 months to work out. None of these attempts at delay, however, will impact the summary judgment schedule. Fred Rispoli has thoughts on this, saying, thoughts on a wonderful win. First, although expected, given the high burden the SEC needed to carry, this win was amazing, given Judge Torres was making me sweat, but not Attorney Jeremy, who called it for the end of September. Second, we have more context of Judge Torres's judicial temperament in this case, and it does not bode well for the SEC. The writing is on the wall, but I'm still not sure if the SEC has the literacy level to read it. Judge Torres telegraphed how she will evaluate the MSJ papers and case law, and it's not in the SEC's favor. Judge Torres did hint that the documents sought, though relevant for discovery, may not actually be admissible for trial. But this is not a major concern because once they are disclosed, the damage to the SEC is done. Judge Torres did not have any harsh language for the SEC like Judge Netburn's hypocrisy zinger, but did allude to the schizophrenic nature of SEC's position. Rest assured, the message was sent to the SEC that its ship is sinking and it will not be getting any more offers for lifeboats. Fifth, now we see how desperate the SEC truly is. Does it file a motion for reconsideration? Interlocutory appeal? Writ of mandamus? SEC can easily drag this email saga out another 1 to 3 months if it wants to, but any negative appellate ruling for SEC will damage all government agencies in the future, not just the SEC. And I also saw Fred comment earlier in the day on another post saying, you know, what does the SEC do from right here, right now? Because remember, the motions for summary judgment are sitting in front of the judges right now for them to make up their mind. And the SEC just keeps wanting to hide things, right? That's probably not the best thing to have happening while they've got the motion for summary judgment right in front of them at the exact same time, trying to make a decision, but at the same time, you're not complying with what they're telling you to do. So it'll be interesting how this plays out. But of course, everybody was very excited to see the big price rise that came in for XRP yesterday as the harsh blow was dealt to the SEC from Judge Torres. So, right, this was ruled on by Judge Netburn. The SEC appealed it up to Judge Torres, and then the Judge Torres still denied the SEC and says, you have to turn over these emails. So everybody's very excited. Me too. One step closer. But the question is it one step closer to Breakout? And yesterday, I was ridiculously busy all day. I thought maybe I would find time to squeeze in a video at some point, but it became apparent later in the day it wasn't going to happen. I didn't even find out about this news until about 2 hours after it already happened. But as I got home late at night, I went ahead and did a write-up on what I saw going on with the XRP price chart, as I wasn't going to be able to make a video. We won't go through this as I did with my previous thread earlier this week, but I'll discuss the same topics going on here with XRP currently. After being in XRP for like 5 years at this point, more than 5 years at this point, I'm very aware of how price action behaves with this particular chart. So for like example with Bitcoin, typically you're going to get nice little grinds up and slowly grinding your way up. XRP, when things happen, they just kind of happen really fast. And we know that really with everything, even just looking back here. We don't even have to go all the way back to the past to see how short-lived these actual bull runs are in relation to actual time. Everything tends to happen ridiculously fast, and then it's all over. Same story goes for in here. Ridiculously fast, then a long period of nothing. But when price does move up, it finally moves up absurdly fast. And in this case right in here, that was only 3 days. You reclaim all of this, but then you go back down and you see each move. They happen relatively quickly in here. And nothing has changed even in the time periods that we've been in here right now, is that we could see everything still just moves awfully fast. And then before we know it, that time period is over. So compare the time periods in here to how long we're going sideways or down. They're very quick. So this time period that we've been in right here recently is no different. It's happened very quickly. Then yesterday, big move, super exciting, right? It pauses out. Really, it's kind of always the case on how price action moves in here. But the bigger question is, was the move that happened here yesterday during that time period actually a breakout? My argument is that no, it's not. Unfortunately, it's not. But not as all lost, not as all bad. One thing we know still is that XRP has not come back down in here to back test the breakout of its Wyckoff accumulation breakout range yet. So that's always going to be a worry on the back of my head of, hey, we got to get down there. Also, when you look at the price action of what actually occurred here on this pop that happened in here, is we got back into retracement levels. So everybody hopefully is aware at this point now, retracement levels are always our most dangerous thing. We, poked above the 618 Fibonacci retracement, but we're not able to get to the 702 or the 786. So at this time, we are still underneath retracement levels. And this could technically be just a retrace only to go on and back test the breakout level, which of course is what we've been talking about for the last week or two at this point. That is very typical to come back to backtest a breakout range for Wyckoff accumulation. Still haven't quite gotten down there yet. We also did talk about how that even if it does pull back up in here, that ranging would still be common. So even if you do assume that's the low, there still becomes a thought process of, well, is this still just going to be ranging for a long period of time? Because it definitely didn't break out. It didn't get through retracement levels. Now the question is, are we ranging or is this a roll up to roll back down and hit these levels? Because typically we are going to hit these levels. It just usually happens. Now we've spent a lot of time comparing how the whole completed structure that has happened in here is incredibly similar to the one that happened for Bitcoin back in 2018 into 2019. Time perspective, fractal perspective, then finally capitulating, having Wyckoff accumulation at the lows. Hey, same thing, right? Here's a case where it breaks out and doesn't come back to back test the Wyckoff accumulation. What's the problem with that? Is that it eventually does come back to hit it at some point. So I don't know about you, but I personally would rather have it over with now. Otherwise, the more we get up in here, the more there's this worry that, hey, it's going to come back. But if you kind of get it out of the way right now, at least it's not something that I'm going to be worrying about. Because if we get away from here without coming back to backtest, it will be a worry in the back of my mind that that's coming one day. And so when we look at it, Wyckoff accumulation, backtesting the range, is there any examples we can see of a situation like this happening for then to finally come back and hit it? And an example would be like for Ethereum Classic over here, as it pulled down, popped up in here very quickly without exceeding these levels over here, only to then eventually turn over and go down and hit the Wyckoff accumulation breakout level where the sign of strength emerged, which we can clearly see here. This is our sign of strength happening in here, like we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, with our sign of strength emerging right in here before the breakout. That's where we were down in here for Ethereum Classic as well on a huge time frame. This is from 2019 to 2022. There's our sign of strength region. That's what it took to get back to it after this quick pop that came in here, and sure looks familiar to me. But we've spent a lot of time discussing this particular chart. That's why I was saying, hey, it looks like the bottom has come in. We've compared these two things every phase of the way, everything from the initial 5-wave fall down to the bottom, to the bounces, to the fractals bringing us back down to the support. All of it matched up for capitulation and the bottom to be coming in. Now the big question is, what type of recovery will come in if XRP is even swapping over to bullish? If it is swapping to bullish, are we going to get the crash, retrace, reaccumulation style that lasts a really long time, or a style that grinds its way up with breaking range consolidation, breaking range consolidation, breaking range consolidation, breaking range? Should we go and break all the way back up to $1.40 or so, $1.50 in a quick move? Well, considering it's followed so perfectly for so long, my best guess at that point would be we've got a year again to come back and backtest our range. I'm not thrilled about that. That could happen. But in order for me to be like, hey, man, okay, I can get excited about these moves up, I'd want to see a healthy growth happen in here. So it doesn't matter what I want. The market's going to choose what it wants to do. But those are kind of the things that I'm watching right now. And definitely these types of moves that happen in here can certainly roll over and come back and set the new lows. I just showed that to you. And we do know that we came back up into retracement levels and didn't get any higher than the retracement levels. And this is kind of like a repeat of last Friday, right? Here we go. It's exciting. We've got exciting news. We've had exciting price action. Once again, blockchain backers should be coming on here hooting and hollering and being excited about it. But this is just what I see. I know we broke from this range and haven't back tested it yet. So long as we haven't back tested it, I have to come on here and be like, yeah, that hasn't been back tested, just so we're all aware, right? That thing hasn't been touched yet. And it's going to stay on my mind till we get there. If we do decide to start breaking out and going up, it'll be more of like, okay, well, it seems that we're doing like the whole crash, retrace, reaccumulation. We got a long ways to go on this thing. But hey, if it repeats the fractals and behavior that it's done so far, maybe $1.40 is in the cards at some point soon. But, I really would hate, and it's out of my control, right? But I would hate to have to come onto this YouTube channel every day with XRP saying that, that range down there never got back tested again. And it's something we're going to have to worry about. Man, that would stink. Imagine the excitement of a rally happening up in there, only to be like, hey, yeah, the next year. So tough position to be in. Why would anybody want to cheer for prices to fall? Let's see here, 20% from where they're at right now. But in the longer term aspect of it, of how we've seen these things grind up, it's a healthier structure if it does. So we'll see. Like I'm showing here with Ethereum Classic, we saw literally the same thing pulling back up into here like this before. So this isn't unusual. These things can happen. You can see how this works in here and then eventually really starts to get going. So we'll see how things go throughout the weekend. But considering that we've only gotten to a 618 retracement and that we have seen this before the sign of strength comes back to get tested again, still seems logical that, 39, 38, 37 cent area is like a magnet in there. And the weekend will probably give us a pretty decent clue on how that's going to go. And let me say this too, I know the things that I'm saying right here, saying hey, the best thing for the chart is for it to fall 20% for the long term, right? Short term, that would stink, but long term, it's like a healthier structure, right? I know that's not the thing everybody wants to hear. But I hope you understand, when I come on this YouTube channel every day, I'm trying to give my best guess. I'm trying to give my best speculation, best guess on here. And right now, it's like the perfect opportunity to come on here and be a moon boy. Be like, we're going to the moon, 589, put it on the thumbnail and say we're skyrocketing, all skies are clear, to get clicks and to get views and do all that stuff. But, when I was in here, we're talking about Wyckoff accumulation, being sincere that, this is the structure that I'm seeing happening in here. While the market has been terrified, if you post bearish things on Twitter, you get the most engagement you can possibly get. And then what do? We consolidate and break from the range, right? So it was my sincere view that we were seeing accumulation happening down here in XRP to reverse out of there. It was not what most people wanted to hear. They wanted to hear, we're going to keep going down further so they could buy prices for cheaper. But that's just not what I saw happening in the chart here. Now we get all the way up. Hey, you know, tell me we're going to keep going up, right? No, sorry. We're going to go the other way, maybe. And that's not what everybody wants to hear. And I know. But I come on here and I do my best, regardless of what people want to hear, and just try to shoot it as straight as I possibly can with you with what I see happening in here. I don't always get it right, but I'm definitely doing my best to shoot it straight with you regardless of what the market wants to hear. The best thing that I could have done for my YouTube channel for the last 4 months is be a bear poster. It was for engagement popurposes, it would have been the best thing for me to do. But it's not what I saw happening in there. And it's the same thing that happened, you know, when Bitcoin was, you know, everybody screaming it's going to 100K. You do the it's even worse when you're doing it during that time because you're like the bad human being. And when you do that, everybody's like long, everybody's saying we're going to 100K, and you're like, no, it's not. Either way, that's kind of what a moment like this is like. That, you know, when you're looking at it like that, you say, hey, you know, it's one thing to say, hey, I want it to be healthy. I want it to grow because it's a healthier way for it to grow. It's also the same structure of what happens before they do. So you can see how that does play out in there. And all I can do is show you how history played out. However the chart's going to play out is how the chart's going to play out. We had Wyckoff accumulation. We got a sign of strength emerge from it. We broke out. It's common to come back and backtest these sign of strengths. And the move that we saw happen here, even though that it happened with a news event occurring at the same time, it's the same kind of thing that can happen right before we finally go down and hit it. So I'm very alert to that happening. If we do break out and continue going up higher, it will always be on the back of my mind that this area is down in here. But it also does seem probable and likely that's probably what's coming next. We'll find out. It has definitely been a spitting image of what we've been following up until this point. A spitting image of it continuing would be a move up like that. But in order to see things happen in a more healthier way, it'd be nice to get that out of the way now than later. And those are the kind of things we're dealing with right now. So I love you guys. I know this isn't what everybody wants to hear, but if we get that moment, that's where I'll definitely get super excited to see how the market reacts at that point, because that's the level we need to see hold. But right now, I hope you could see why I'm sitting here saying I'm still cautious. But unquestionably, a step in the right direction, a step closer for the world to see why XRP is the fastest, cheapest, and best digital asset that there is. And that's, of course, my biased opinion. But we're one step closer, but we still haven't crossed the finish line. But hopefully it happens sooner than later. So, all right, that's going to be it for this one. There's so much going on in markets worldwide right now. There's so much to talk about. But, of course, giant XRP news and a giant move in the XRP price chart. It takes priority. My XRP family comes before all of those other topics do. But we will get to those other topics. But in today's video, XRP centered. We'll see how the weekend goes. But as for this week, I'm going to wrap this thing up as I've been doing for my Friday fluffs, kind of updating you guys on my drums and on my fish tank. You know, I played my show last weekend. Hey, Rock Chain backer. That was a ton of fun to do that. Now I've got a new set of songs that I'm going to be working on now for the next couple of months. So those will be fun, more of like 80s theme style stuff. And then working on my technique, right? Getting my wrist action down a little bit better. Using a lot of arm there, trying to, you know, isolate it down to the wrist a little bit more. As for the fish tank, it has stayed nice and clean. So that's been the big challenge so far. This guppy that I have in this little cage right here, she's like super pregnant. You can see the eggs in the back of her. Let's see if you can see, like right in here. You can't see, I'm trying to get the camera on it, but you're not gonna be able to see it. She's got eggs in there. You can even see the eyeballs inside of the egg. So she's about to give birth. I've moved her to this isolation tank so that way all the other fish don't eat her babies, because that's just what happens, man. Next week when I report to you on that one, hopefully I have a whole big, you know, tank full of fish fry, little baby fish. But we'll see, right? I don't know, man. The last couple of times these fish have had babies, only one from each batch has made it, because all the other fish got to them too quick, because they kind of do it in the middle of the night, and you can't really, you know, I know it sounds grotesque, right? But like it happens in the middle of the night, and you can't there's nothing you can do about it. But I'm trying to be proactive on this one because this one I have spotted and I think it's really close. So hopefully by next Friday at the next update, we've got a bunch of them in there. Then things will probably spiral out of control from a guppy overpopulation. But we'll deal with that when it comes. But all right, guys, that's going to be it for this one. Happy Friday. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.